Shoo, move, come on, move on. Hello, hi, it's me again, Dr. Abby, on Tell Me the Stories of Jesus. And today, I'm a shepherdess. Imagine, I'm excited. I'm out with the sheep, giving them food to eat and water to drink. And guess whose story we're continuing? Correct, Moses. We talked about Moses last week, remember? He ran away from Egypt. Let me tell you a story about what happened after that. So after running away from Egypt, he came to Midian. And when he got to Midian, God brought him in contact with a man called Jethro. Jethro was very nice to Moses. Jethro favored Moses and even allowed Moses to marry his daughter. And they had a son to start with. And Moses worked for Jethro. So he was a shepherd, just like me. And he helped Jethro with his sheep. And he will take them out, give them food, water them and all. And one day, as he was taking them out to feed, what did he see? A burning bush. The bush was burning. There was fire, but the leaves remained fresh. The tree, the bush itself was not burning down, but there was fire all around it, on it. And that drew his attention. And he said, let me move closer to see what's happening. And then he heard his name, Moses, Moses. And he knew it was God. You know, we've talked about before how you learn how to hear from God. So Moses knew how to hear from God. He knew it was God. And God told him, take off your sandals. Immediately, Moses is very obedient. He took off his sandal because God told him, where you are is holy ground. So wherever God is a holy place. And God told him that remember the Israelites that you left in Egypt. Well, they've been crying to me, and it's about time I want to save them. I want to bring them out of Egypt, out of the land of slavery, to go and worship me. I want to take them to a good land flowing with milk and honey. And God told Moses about it all. And God also told Moses, you know those people that wanted to kill you, for which you ran away, they're all dead now, so you're okay. You can go back to Egypt. And Moses was still afraid. And he said, God, who am I going to tell them sent me? And God said, tell them I am. That's my name. I am who I am. And Moses said, okay, God, can you please give me a sign that I can show the Israelites, that I can show the Egyptians that you are the one that sent me? And God said, what's that in your hand? A rod. And God said, throw that rod on the ground. And Moses is very obedient. He threw the rod on the ground and he looked at it. And guess what? It turned into a snake. A snake! And God said, yes, pick that snake, pick it up. And Moses picked up the snake. And immediately he picked up the snake, he turned back into the rod. And God said, that's a sign to show them that I sent you. And then again, God said, put your hand into your armpit. He did it. Bring it out. He brought it out. And he had really bad skin condition. And God said, put it back in. And he did. And he brought it out. Whoa, it looked like a skin of a baby, fresh. And God said, that's another sign. Now go. So Moses said one more thing. He said, God, you know I stammer. I don't speak fluently. What's going to happen? They're going to make fun of me. By that time, God was getting impatient with Moses. And then God said, you know what? Your brother Aaron will go with you. So he will go with you and he will speak on your behalf. You tell him what I tell you to say, and he will say it. So Moses went to Jethro, his father-in-law, and told him all that had happened, and said he had to go back to Egypt. And Jethro released him, and which was very good. So Moses went to Egypt, and he spoke to the Israelites, the elders, when he got there. The elders were excited because everybody was tired of being a slave. And so Moses said, Aaron and I we're going to Pharaoh and we're going to speak to him to let God's people go. That's what God has said. And they went to Pharaoh and he said, no, you're not going anywhere. They're not going anywhere. They are so lazy. They must be idle. That's why they're asking to go somewhere to go worship God. And Moses showed him the signs, that God has said, threw the rod down, it became a snake and all. But Pharaoh also had his magicians. So the magicians did the same thing. Because his magicians could do the same thing, Pharaoh's heart hardened, and he wasn't afraid of God. He was like, no, they're going nowhere. And so he told his taskmasters, he said, go and make them work harder. It's because they are not working hard. And so they made them work harder. And the Israelites were so sad. And they were like, Moses, what have you done to us? Now he's making us work harder. And Moses went to God and he was like, God. And then God kept sending Moses to Pharaoh. Let my people go. And God kept giving different signs. And Pharaoh, his heart was so hard. Why would you be like that? And there were the 10 plagues. Because God was not happy. He wanted his people to go. And so he told different times, he would tell Moses, tell Aaron to strike the water. And Aaron will do that. And the water will turn to blood. And Pharaoh's magicians will do the same thing. And Pharaoh will be like, yeah, my magicians can do the same thing. So you're not going. And then God will give another sign. Frogs will come into Egypt. I mean, loads of frogs. And then the magicians too were able to make frogs appear. No, you're not going, Pharaoh says. And there were many things like that. But it got to a point, because there were 10 plagues. Then there were lice, God made lice come. And then the magicians couldn't do that. Flies, they couldn't do that. And then there were many other things that happened. There was the hail, so that's like stones raining down and hitting the people. And the magicians warned Pharaoh. They were like, this must be the hand of God. But he was very stubborn. He was too proud. Each time he was like, no, they're not going anywhere. No, they're not going anywhere. They must serve me. They must be my servant. Because this Pharaoh has forgotten when Joseph, remember we've talked about Joseph before? He's forgotten when Joseph helped and delivered Egypt. So he wasn't compassionate to the Israelites. And there were many other plagues. So we had the flies. There was the disease that killed all the animals, boils on their body, all those nasty things. And Pharaoh was still like, no, they're not going. And you know what? When all those things were happening in Egypt, remember that the children of God live in Goshen. They don't live inside Egypt. They live in a little land just outside of it, Goshen. Whatever was bad that was happening in Egypt did not happen to them in Goshen. There was a time there was no light, it was darkness, but there was light in Goshen. And God did many things like that. And Pharaoh still hardened his heart. His heart was very hardened. And then one more. God said, I will do one more thing. When everybody hears, they will know that it is me. When I do this thing, Pharaoh will let my people go. God had told Moses, if we read the scriptures, and today's story is from Exodus chapter 2. It spans many chapters from there. You start to read and you read more and you love it. And there was a place God had told Moses to tell Pharaoh that Israel is my firstborn. Let Israel go. If you don't let Israel go, I will take your firstborns. But Pharaoh did not listen. So that night, God told the children of Israel, pack all your things. Prepare to go quickly. Ask from all your neighbors, all your friends, the Egyptians, whatever gift you want from them, ask for it. And God gave them specific meal that they must eat. And that night was called the Passover night. And God said, I will move in Egypt and I will show Pharaoh my anger. And so God warned the Israelites and he told them, he said, now you're going to kill a lamb And the blood, you're all going to mark your doorpost with the blood. When you mark the doorpost with your blood, when the angel of death passes any door with the blood, he will pass over. This time, the children of Israel knew that God was no longer joking. He was ready to deliver his children from Israel. Enough is enough. And so they all obeyed. They killed the lamb, they got the blood, and they all marked their doorpost. Everybody marked their doorpost with the blood, so that when the angel of death comes at night and sees the blood on any door, he just passes over. He doesn't touch anybody in that house. And that was what happened. That night, the angel of the Lord passed, angel of death. He passed through the whole of Egypt. Any door without the blood, the firstborn died. And there was so much wailing and shouting and crying from the lowest servant up till Pharaoh. All the firstborn died. By the morning, Pharaoh was like, you know what? Out, all of you. Call Moses. Go, 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 go. Go and worship your God. You can leave. Go, go, go. And that's what happened. That's how God delivered his children from the hands of Pharaoh, from Egypt, the Passover night. Now, like we always do, we'll go back and quickly learn our lessons. Moses saw the burning bush. That was how God got his attention. How does God get your attention? When he's trying to get your attention, do you listen or do you get distracted? When he wants you to read the Bible to get your attention, do you go and play with the TV? Learn. When God wants your attention, give it to him. And in all the instructions, Moses was obedient. Remember, God is our Father, so we can always ask him questions. It's not wrong to ask him for a sign. God is not a tyrant. He's not a dictator. So Moses asked him for signs. Moses asked him, show me, tell me who is sending me, and all that. And that was fine with God. Okay, when Moses was asking too much questions, yes, God was getting a bit impatient, but God made sure that it was okay, it was all right. Moses was ready to go. And he said bye to Jethro. He didn't just leave. So always remember to acknowledge the right people. Yeah? And when he went back, God honored all his word. Moses knew who had sent him. He knew the signs he had seen. So he didn't doubt. He didn't give up. Even when Pharaoh was stubborn, when the children of Israel were in doubt, he didn't give up. That was good. And another lesson. Why was Pharaoh so hard-hearted? Why did he allow himself and his people to be punished so much before he released the children of God? Don't harden your heart. When God gives an instruction, please obey. So remember, when God asked Moses, what's in your hand? And he said, the rod. God will always use that thing that you have in your hands. So don't underestimate that thing that you've got, that thing that looks little, that thing that looks insignificant. God will use it. What's in your hands? He asked Moses. And Moses said, the rod. And God used it. And when you always obey, make sure that you are always in the right place. As long as the children of God were in Goshen, nothing happened to them. All those bad things didn't happen to them. They were obedient. When God said, mark the door, they marked it, and God saved them. Nobody died in their lives. And I want you always to remember this story, how the door was marked, how they were preserved, how God saved them. Because very soon, in the next week or two, we're going to talk again about Passover and the blood. But till then, continue to be lovers of God, continue to be friends of Jesus, to be obedient, not to be distracted, and to hold on to what God has told you. Don't give up and don't harden your heart. God will always be with you. Till next time, bye.